Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Friday, November the 10th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and we are joined today by former NHL defenseman with the Detroit Red Wings for, I think, going on a decade at least in the NHL. Danny DeKaiser, our guest today on the Ice Guys. Danny, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Big fan of the show. It's been good.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, you've been watching and tuning in apparently. So that's great to hear. Great to see. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk a lot of NHL. We'll break down the Friday card like normal. And by the way, this is a Beantown Friday. I failed to mention that. Beantown Friday edition of the show presented by Boston Hemp Inc., our Friday sponsor. But Danny, give us the cliff notes. Getting into hockey at the obviously college level and then getting to the Detroit Red Wings. But how did you get into hockey and your love for the game? Where did it begin?
Yeah, I mean, my dad just got me going at an early age. I think I was 4 when he first got me on skates and whatnot. So, he just, basically instilled the game in me. And then I just kind of, found a love for it as the years went on and, just wanted to keep playing for as long as I can, just like kind of any kid does. And, I was fortunate to have a longer career than most and, was able to play, all those years in my home state here. So it was fun to do that. And, I grew up 30 minutes from downtown Detroit. So my parents and my family were at pretty much every game, every home game. So it was a lot of fun and, a lot of good years, a lot of good memories made.
Yeah, no question. A lot of good years and a lot of good memories. A lot of all of it spent in Detroit, of course. That must have been cool. How awesome was it? Just the feeling of playing for the Detroit Red Wings. Can't imagine how ecstatic and just how amazing you probably felt. I played for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was, especially at first. I mean, I was, free agent coming out of Western Michigan there and had a few different options. But at the time, Detroit was in a little bit of a transition phase. They won that cup in 2008, but, by that 12-13 season, they had some changes going on there. Lidstrom had just retired the year before. I think Rafalski was 2 years before that. They just traded Brad Stewart. So their back end was in a total change up. So, I kind of took that as an opportunity to get my foot in the door and try to get some playing time. And at the time, that's basically all I was looking for was an opportunity to just try to solidify myself for as long as I could.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously Detroit. Now, we've thrown a lot of stones at Mike Babcock, okay? And obviously that's amazing, the first head coach, and you're just trying to, get your feet wet and, NHL's brand new experience to you. And Mike Babcock's your first head coach at that level. Good, bad, and indifferent, your experiences with him.
Yeah, I mean, I never had an issue with him. I had him there for my first, I think, 2 or 3 years. But as a coach, he was always prepared, and he made sure his team was ready to go, and the X's and O's side of stuff, he was dialed in, and he just made sure his team was always ready.
Yeah, and exactly. The one thing about him is he knows hockey. Say what you want about the personal shit that went beyond the scenes, behind the scenes with certain players, and some of the tactics he would use. He does know hockey, and he was successful. He won a Stanley Cup, and every year, winning teams for the most part. Even when he got to Toronto, they didn't have the playoff success, but what coach has had the playoff success there? At the very least, he had them great regular seasons, a great winning record, what he did internationally, of course, for Team Canada. So, the accomplishments are there. The coaching ability is there, X's and O's wise, but some of the personal experiences were a little bit problematic. Players that you enjoyed playing with the most with the Red Wings, who would you put in that category?
Definitely Nicholas Kronwall. He was up there. Yeah. Jonathan Ericsson, who's
actually the best open ice punishing hitters you'll ever see from the blue line.
Yeah. Him and when I first came in, him and Ericsson, Kyle Quincy were kind of fixtures on the back end there. So, I got to know those guys very well and spent a lot of time with all of them. They're all really good guys. And then step into a locker room with Zetterberg and Datsuk and Franzen at the time, those were all legends who, were cup winners who I grew up watching, all my my youth years, and then I got to kind of step into a locker room and go on the ice and play with those guys. So it was at first a bit of a shock, but you got to be confident out there and just know that you can play. Try not to get caught up in a lot of that other stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. And you, of course, just recently retired. Things you've been how have you been keeping busy now, transitioning to life after hockey? Obviously, we talked about it a little bit before we started the show, but let everyone know what you've been doing.
Yeah. So I started a on ice training institute for kids. So it's called the Kaiser Training Institute. I work with kids in small groups, or we do bigger camps. I'll come out to some team practices as well. I got a lot of buddies in the area who are running teams nowadays, so I'll hop out, for an hour or so, work with their D on some of their skates and whatnot. So it's been fun. And then I'm also doing some real estate as well. So I just got into that this past summer, and that's been fun for me. I've really enjoyed that. So I've always kind of had an interest in the real estate side of stuff. And when I was playing, I didn't really have a ton of time to get into deep dive into it too much. But, once I stopped playing, I was able to actually got my license and doing a little, buying and selling and whatnot for some residential and commercial properties around the area. So it's been fun. It's been competitive, and I like that. Interest rates being high is kind of a killer right now, but it's all been fun.
Yeah, a great friend of the show for us is Eddie Lack. He was on our betcast last night, and he's into real estate now. And actually, he was going to show a home to somebody in Arizona.
Okay.
Had a rink in the basement too. He was telling us too.
Yeah. Can he sell that house to me for $10? I'd be all in. I'm a buyer, Eddie. Come on, bring it this way. Shit. But, unfortunately, I know it's not worth that. Not quite. Look, we got a lot of Blackhawks fans in the chat. We do have a Red Wing fan, Major Tom. Got Cronwald. Yeah, that's what they always said.
Yeah.
He had a big hit. There's no doubt. Melissa Cunningham, who is from Chicago, she's actually a Penguins fan. I still hate Cronwald from that Winter Classic hit. And another funny comment from Melissa. Ew, all these wing players I used to hate. We're hoping we can mend some fences here on the show today.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's the way it goes. I get it.
Yeah, and maybe talk about that too, because like you said, you came in right as Detroit was flipping from the west to the east. So you said those rivalries with Chicago, with St. Louis, with Colorado weren't really there. So how was it though? Like you said, you grew up in Detroit, you grew up Wings fan, but to play against those teams, even though it wasn't the intensity of what you saw growing up in the '90s and even the early 2000s.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. Like especially Chicago when I first came in. We were still in the West there for just a little bit when I first signed with the Wings, and I broke my thumb in the playoffs that first year against Anaheim, and then the team we went on to beat Anaheim in 7, and then played Chicago the next round and lost to them in Game 7 overtime, that Seabrook goal. But I unfortunately wasn't a part of that series, but I was around the rink for all those games and all that, and it was just the vibe and the energy, both at the United Center and then that was back in the Joe. In Detroit. I mean, those games were electric. That was some fun hockey to just surround yourself with, and good atmosphere and good games for sure.
Yeah, those were the Detroit, Chicago in the '90s in particular, when they were in the old Central Division. I mean, some of the battles, some of the wars, some of the brawls, some of the scrums after the whistle. I mean, it was just some of the most intense shit you'll ever see as far as NHL is concerned. Yeah.
I would say that was a rivalry where it didn't, obviously throughout the 90s and 2000s, the majority of the time, Detroit was the best team in the league. Chicago, it was varying, but it was always a competitive battle and a good watch, no matter how bad the Hawks might have been or what Detroit was going at the time. And it made for interesting TV because of the fact that, Detroit could easily just go out there and, sleepwalk against a bad Hawks team, in 2002 or 2003. But instead, the crowd would be amped up. And, especially in those old days, the United Center would be maybe more Red Wing fans than Hawks fans. So they always, came amped up to play, and the Hawks matched that intensity. So it was, just a lot of fun to watch just from a hockey rivalry standpoint. Take any fan base aside. Yeah.
That was the other cool thing about playing for the Wings too is, it kind of probably like for the Leafs too, as they see it. But wherever you go, there's a ton of your hometown fans there. You go whatever down to Florida, Arizona, down in Texas, out west, anywhere you're showing up on those long road trips, and it's just filled with Wings fans all over the place. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, what we do, Danny, on this show with the guest that's on for the first time, a player guest, we have them on for the first time. We do the highlight reel. We go into the vault and we find some stuff that we are going to be able to show everyone. And I know this is some of the best segments that our guests enjoy. We've actually found, or I should say, found your first NHL goal, Danny. Do you remember your first NHL goal? It was 2013.
Hard to forget those ones, Yeah. Oh yeah. Winnipeg. That was in Winnipeg. Shorthanded.
Yeah.
I believe it was Stephen Weiss off the draw over to Cronwell over me for a one-timer posted in. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right. When it's your first NHL goal, it's like, how can you not remember and recollect, each and every, moment of that goal occurring? So we've got that. We've got a couple others as well that we are, if our computer here will cooperate, we'll find them. We've got a couple clips. Yeah, there it is. So this is Danny DeKeyser years ago, and it is his first NHL goal. And this is called by Ken Daniels. And Ken Daniels, by the way, Danny, Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond are constantly I do broadcaster rankings, every local team's broadcasters.
Okay.
They're constantly in my top 5 every single year, Ken and Mick.
Good. They're good. They're really good.
Yeah, they are very good. So here's Ken Daniels with Danny DeKeyser's first NHL goal. We go all the way back to November 4th, 2013. So almost 10 years ago to this date, November the 4th, 2013. Here we go.
Blocking shots, getting pucks down, being strong in front of their own net, winning draws. Stephen Weiss has been a lot better at that. Weiss wins another one. Back to DeKeyser, scores! Danny DeKeyser gets his goal! And the Red Wings take the lead. 2-1, a shorthanded tally.
What a ripper that was, too.
That was a bomb. I got a hold of that one.
Yeah. Was that a pretty obvious decision? Like, I'm shooting that thing right away?
Yeah. I mean, especially, that's what we'd always do, especially shorthanded. If you win the draw, just try to tee up a one-timer. We had 2 lefties out there. So, I think we didn't have many right-handed D that year. So somebody was always on their one-timer side.
All right. We got
a rare start from Al Montoya in that clip for one of them.
Yeah.
That's right. Al Montoya. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Blast from the past. Forgot about him. Yeah. He had he had a little bit of time in the NHL. Not a ton of starts, but he was one of those goalies that's bounced like a McElhaney, there's a bunch of goalies. Like even though he's still a very good starter, Cam Talbot, he's been with a bunch of teams. There's just always those goalies that are with a bunch of teams. Montoya was like that. McElhaney was like that.
Great puck Doku answers for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Very true. All right. Here's this other goal. This probably, I would say, Danny, has to be the weirdest goal of your career, the craziest goal of your career. And it's definitely one of the weirdest goals that I have ever seen. And we will play it back. This was a game that you played against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was Ben Bishop in net that night. Here we go. This is one of the oddest goals you'll see from 2016.
Opening night.
Here we go.
So there's a time to just get it out, and there's a time to go for the net.
Sellout crowd, 19,092, 67th consecutive sellout.
There it is.
Good kick off the glass, off the stanchion there.
They don't ask how, they ask how many, though, Danny. That's what you got to remember. Whenever anyone scores a goal like that, who cares? It's a goal on the resume. It's a goal added to the old stat sheet.
Yeah, that one was pretty wild. I was just trying to, D to D and bomb that one hard rim around, and obviously it just picked right off that stanchion. Yeah, right through the wow. That's pretty wild. I mean,
and the thing that it kicked off the inside of the left pad of Ben Bishop is what allowed it to get into that.
Yeah. I mean.
That's like a video game glitch. That's amazing.
Like you try that 1,000 times, that's gonna be like.
Yeah, wow. I'm sure poor Ben Bishop. Look, that's not a good feeling for any goalie, obviously. Vesa Toskala, I'll never forget that bouncing puck, like it was bouncing on a road, on a stretch of highway, and it just bounced over his pad and in. It was when he was with the Leafs against the Islanders, many years ago. That was just one of those bad break goals, and that was another one there for Ben Bishop. But hey, you'll take it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You take those anytime you can get them. That's for sure. Because many stay out that should go in, right? And then there's always, when those ones go in, it's like, all right, you take that when you get it.
As I say, kind of tie it back in with the Detroit thing, almost reminds me of one of the craziest goals I saw growing up was when Dan Cloutier was in Vancouver, gave up that bouncing puck in the playoffs with Lidstrom. So, sometimes it happens.
It does. It does.
As Doc Emmerich would say, you geometrically got the puck in the net there. That would have been the word he would have used for that, because he always did that when those angle shots or angle passes, and that's exactly what that was, no question. All right, Danny. Rich has a good question. Alex says, "Let me just see if I can find it here. Let me just see here. Where was it? Was it way up on the chat?"
No, just down in the chat. No, he's just asking. So you wore number 65. Was there any significance for that number, or just that was just what they assigned you and they just held on to it?
Yeah, well, so when I first left Western Michigan and signed in Detroit, I always wore number 5, like most of my career, majority of my career, if it was available. Nick Lidstrom was always my favorite defenseman growing up. So when I got to Detroit, obviously, 5 wasn't retired, but no one was number 5. You know what I mean? So I think there was it was like 15, 45, or 65. Numbers that they had available that had a 5 in it. So I scooped up 65 and just ran with it.
Cool. All right. It's always, and the answers are very all over the place when it comes to players. Why do you wear that number? Some it's a personal significance. Maybe it's attached to something within their family. Maybe it's, they wanted to represent a player that they grew up idolizing. And then there's some people that say, it's just a random number. I like that number. I picked it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's kind of how that was. It had a 5 in it. So I was, I was just happy to be in the building at that point. I didn't really care what jersey number.
Yeah, no question about that. So we'll turn our attention now to what the purpose of the show is and what we're here for each and every day, and that's NHL breaking down the games. Danny, just some overall thoughts before we get into specific games here for the Friday slate. We got 6 games. We'll break them all down in a moment. But just some things and observations from you here from what we've seen in the first month of the season, players and or teams that have impressed you and or disappointed you so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good start to the year. I still do quite a bit of work, like media work for the Wings, so I'm at quite a few of the home games still. So I follow them obviously really close. They had the hot start to the year, and then they've DeBrincat, that Larkin, DeBrincat, and Raymond line, they were on fire for the first like 6 games or something, and then they've cooled off a bit. You knew that couldn't last the whole year, so it was going to be a matter of if they were going to get some secondary scoring. So. Lately they haven't gotten a ton of it. So hopefully stuff changes there. But I mean, how about the Boston Bruins, losing Bergeron, he retires, like it kind of the same story as last year when everybody thought they were going to take a step back and they, just ran through the league pretty much. And then this year, I think they started 9-0-1 the first 10. So pretty impressive. They just keep rolling. I guess, other than that, it's just, a lot of good hockey so far.
Yeah, no doubt it has. And you're right. You're the team you obviously played for, and you're still following them closely, obviously, Red Wings. And they got off to this red hot start. They disappointed me greatly last night because I split up regulation and -1 with them last night against Montreal, and they end up losing in overtime. Hell of a shot by Caulfield, though, in overtime. No chance for James Reimer. Last night with that power play goal in OT. Take power plays, that 4-on-3, and you can speak to it as someone that played in the NHL on the blue line, but to defend a 4-on-3 power play in the 5-minute overtime, that's as difficult a task as you could probably have.
Yeah, no, that's tough. I mean, you try to rotate, have a rotating triangle, if you're on the three-man side there, but if they had a couple more clears, I think they could have gotten through to the shootout. Basically, at that point, that's all they were trying to do, But I mean, Caulfield, I think that I heard that was Caulfield's 3rd OT winner of the year, I think already. So he's, anytime he gets the puck, especially on the power play when he's got some time and space, he's usually going to do something dangerous with it, and he's just got a heck of a shot too, as you saw last night.
He certainly does. Shout out to everyone that joined us on the live betcast, the Family Plan exclusive live betcast last night. We appreciate it very much. It was a lot of fun. We did cash some winners. We did pretty good. We had Arizona's 2nd goal. We had the draw in the Montreal-Detroit game that we took live in that game. We had a couple others as well later on in the night, but it was a solid betcast. We appreciate you guys joining us for it. Tuesday, November 28th, by the way, is going to be the next live betcast. So make sure you're ready for that. And join us for that for sure. As far as recapping last night, which we always do on every show, I'll start with the Oilers because they're the hot topic. Everyone wants to talk about them and the shit show and the dumpster fire and the circus that's going on right now with the Oilers. I mean, I thought the effort was there early. I mean, they had chances against San Jose. And right now, there's just a malaise right now, okay? Because you look at Draisaitl and McDavid, it's not that they're playing horrible, but we expect so much from them. They've put themselves at a level where we expect great from them because they've been great for many, many years. And when they're just playing mediocre or barely good, it's a huge drop. It feels like a huge drop off in their game. They're not finishing right now. Not enough people are talking about the offense drying up. We know they haven't been able to get a save. Jack Campbell, and by the way, I feel bad for Jack Campbell, man. It's getting to the point now where it's not funny anymore. I don't even want to joke about Jack Campbell anymore because he's a good guy. Everyone that knows him says he's one of the best people you'll ever meet. But a horrible night for him in his first AHL start after he got called or sent down to Bakersfield. He played Abbotsford last night. He gave up 4 goals on 7, and then one of the goals was it's as bad as you'll see. And it's just you hate to see it because he's a good guy. You hope he can find a way to get his game back and get some confidence back, but it wasn't good for him last night. Stuart Skinner struggled. The blue line has been awful. In terms of the decision-making, Darnell Nurse with a pinch that you just shouldn't have made that gave San Jose that 3-1 lead, that Zadina goal, where he finished off a 2-on-1 rush for San Jose because of a bad pinch at an inopportune time. Just not good. Not getting a save when they need it. Their offense, they're dead last in 31st, 32nd in goals against, save percentage, goals allowed per game, all that stuff. But I think what's stunning is they're like 28th in goals scored per game. That's even more surprising that the offense is completely fallen off for this Oilers team. It's rough right now. Like they are tied in points and wins with San Jose at the bottom of the league right now, the Edmonton Oilers. And you saw the comments from everybody after the game. It looked like there was a dispirited. It's like there was a funeral being held in the dressing room. It's like someone just passed away suddenly in the dressing room. That's the mood coming out of that loss last night against San Jose. It was dreary. It was very, very sullen in the dressing room last night. And man, it's bad times right now for the Edmonton Oilers. And that's rock bottom. That you lose to the San Jose Sharks last night, 3-2. Very, very disheartening loss. And I don't know where they go from here. It's not going to get any easier. Seattle just beat Colorado last night, and that's who you got to play next on Saturday night. From afar, Danny, how do you see it with this Oilers team? It's just, quite honestly, an absolute disaster at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I guess the good thing that you can think about is how much season there is left, but yeah, I mean, at this point, it's there's not really much to say. It's like the guys in the room at a certain point just kind of got to step up and change things, right? As the coaches and the GM, they can only do so much at certain points. It's up to the players to just try to figure things out.
Yeah, and that's what they have to do. And by the way, I got to criticize Evander Kane. Evander Kane, I couldn't find him on the ice with a telescope last night in that hockey game. I couldn't. Like, just no impact. Did he make a big, sometimes when he gets into the game, he's doing it physically with a big hit, or he'll get in a scrum and get in someone's face. And we know offensively what he's capable of doing. You saw nothing in any of those categories from Evander Kane last night. That's another problem. You got to have everybody on board in a game like that where you're desperate. And you got to show that sense of urgency to get out of the losing streak. We didn't see that from Kane. I thought Nugent Hopkins, who's had a bad start to the year, he did score the second goal to get them close, but he took a really bad penalty before that, which put Edmonton shorthanded. So he's been awful so far this year. It's just there's so many different areas you can point to for the problems right now with the Edmonton Oilers. Jimmy Murphy, our Friday guest, is in transit, so he's calling from the road once again. Jimmy, how are you?
Good. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you, Jimmy. How are you? We're talking the Oilers. Everybody in the hockey world seems like is fucking talking about the Oilers. So we're not alone with that. They're everyone wants to talk about them. But what do you think? Another bad loss for them last night, San Jose.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's a pleasure to be speaking to Danny. As you guys know, my second favorite team growing up was the Red Wings. So big fan.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. I apologize if my reception's in and out, but yeah, definitely a big fan of your game when you played, and covered a few of your games back in the day. So
awesome.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Guys, I mean, look, I've kind of been going at it back and forth with my colleague in Vegas who writes for Vegas Hockey Now, Chris Golick, who seems to think this is all on Jay Woodcroft, and I couldn't disagree more. To me, this reeks of a team that seems very entitled and read their press clippings a little too much in the preseason, and kind of thought maybe things were going to just come to them and they didn't have to go out and get it. And you just can't do that in today's NHL. And I mean, any given night, like we say in football, any given Sunday, any given night, as last night proved. And, it doesn't matter how much skill you have on your roster. You, as you know, Danny, I mean, you gotta bring it. And look, I don't think when you really look at that Oilers roster, this guy's saying, my friend Chris there, he's saying, hey, Woodcroft can't handle a team full of superstars. Who are the other superstars on that team other than Draisaitl and McDavid? I mean, Evander Kane, I guess you can maybe put in that category, maybe Ekholm. But other than that, I don't see a team full of superstars. I see a top-heavy team with no goaltending and a GM, and God bless him, man. I mean, like I just said, I'm a Red Wings fan. I appreciate everything Ken Holland did for the Red Wings back in the day, but I think he's failed this team, and he failed to address their most critical needs, and that's goaltending and defense. And now that's coming back to haunt them. So I don't think this is on Woodcroft at all, but chances are, as it always is in pro sports, the coach is going to pay the price, so it's tough to watch. I mean, it's this team, I think, could obviously be so much better, but they're in a spiral right now, and I don't know what's going to save them.
Yeah, and they thought last night would be the night that if they're going to bust out of this, it would be against San Jose and maybe be able to do it in a big way, and instead they lose 3-2, and the 3-2 goal that they got was late with the extra attacker with the net empty. So they weren't even, they actually outshot San Jose heavily, but unlike the Philly game, this to me was just not the highest quality chances you would have liked either with those 40 shots. I think that was an issue. I didn't see a boatload of real dangerous chances. Blackwood was good. Blackwood had to make a great save on Hyman in the second period, but I thought other than that, it was not the most difficult night, even though the volume of shots were there for Edmonton. Quality necessarily wasn't there. Alex, another Oiler loss. What did you think of it there last night?
Well, I didn't watch too much of it because I kind of figured this is what was going to happen, right? It's either going to be a complete blowout, Edmonton gets everything rolling, or they just, sleepwalk through it and find a way to lose. And that's exactly what they did. This team is an absolute mess right now. Like I said, you see all the guys in the locker room after the game, the dry. I don't even know why they even bother still speaking to Draisaitl at this point. Like, he literally doesn't want to talk to anyone in the world after these losses.
Oh, yeah, that's
and they keep asking him just like the most kind of roundabout questions, and he's just getting more and more frustrated. I think that's what it is.
The one about Skinner a couple of weeks ago was a joke. That question when they asked him, "What did you say to him after the mistake where he fumbled the puck and it went in the net?" He's like, "What do you want me to say to him? He made a mistake. Right. We all make mistakes." That was a dumb question.
Yeah. So it seems like the reporters in Edmonton almost get nervous talking to him now because they know he's going to just be kind of a little agitated with whatever answer he gives. So it's just a mess all the way around. I mean, like I said, even with Jack Campbell last night, he's in Bakersfield. They lose to the San Jose AHL team. He gives up a bunch of goals. Like, everything organizationally is bad with Edmonton right now. And it's like, where do you plug the first hole? Like I said, do you fire Woodcroft? That's probably not the best idea because he's the best coach you can get. And who are you going to get to replace him in a quick fix to turn something around? I'm hearing Gallant. I've heard a bunch of names thrown around, but I don't know if that's going to solve anything. Ken Holland, I mean, yeah, you get rid of him and you're going to have to get rid of him at some point. He has failed this franchise, but that's not going to wake up the locker room necessarily. A GM move isn't going to necessarily stir things up like getting rid of a coaching staff. Your cap's strong, so you can't just make some kind of gigantic trade. I joked about, Edmonton and Toronto, flipping, Matthews and McDavid at this point. And as crazy as that might have sounded 2 years ago, if both teams start, continue to keep losing like this, keep playing bad hockey, especially on the Edmonton side, the only teams you could deal with are other teams who have big-time players, long-term deals, and big-time contracts. So, we joke about that with the whole Marner and Draisaitl and those four guys kind of possibly being moved. That's not off the table at all right now because, things have to change sooner than later. Like I said, because this is so early in the season, if you make a big blockbuster like that, maybe that's something that's big enough to shake up the whole room and get things rolling for the next 65 to 70 games. Who knows?
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see Saturday night, their next chance to try to snap the skid against Seattle. Just briefly, because we want to get into today's games. We got 6 games. I'll just ask Danny here about 2 things in particular from last night. Vancouver gets another win, 5-2. they look like they're obviously playing like one of the best teams in the NHL, and their record says they are right now. How real is this start for the Vancouver Canucks, and how impressed, Danny, are you with them? And the other thing is Chicago, a 4-point night from Connor Bedard. They beat Tampa Bay 5-2 or 5-3, I should say, last night. We took a shot, by the way, with Bedard live in-game bet on the betcast last night to score a hat trick, plus 750. And that's another thing I'll ask you about Bedard. How impressed are you by him, the Canucks, and also the hat trick theory that we have? We said it on the betcast, Danny, last night. Players are always going to look to feed that player looking for a betcast. Feed him the puck, give him those opportunities to get the betcast. They tried last night. They were always looking for Bedard so he could get his third goal, but it just didn't happen for him. So talk about those things.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with that last question, but yeah, anytime. I mean, if there's a game where somebody gets 2 goals and sometimes it kind of depends how the game is going too. But if you say you're up a couple goals or whatever, or if it's not always a tight game, guys are definitely going to look to try to set that guy up. I remember playing with Mike Green. He was my partner a couple of years, but the first year opening night, he's got 2 goals, and he ends up getting the puck at the point, and I'm about to start yelling for the puck for him to go D to D, and then I'm like, I don't want this puck. Like, have him shoot it. And sure enough, he just takes it, drags it to the middle, fires a wrister under the bar for a hat trick. But that stuff definitely happens where guys look to set up certain players at certain times. On the other stuff, I mean, the Canucks, they're rolling. I was out there last year in training camp actually on a PTO, and that team, they have a ton of skill. And last season, all the changes and what was going on there.
That's when they were struggling when you were out there last year.
Yeah, they were. But I mean, this year they figured it out. And when I was out there, I was like, damn, this team, they got a lot of freaking skill on this team. JT Miller, Pedersen, Quinn Hughes on the back end, Besser when he's playing well. Like, they got high-end skill. They got guys who can put the puck in the net, and it's starting to show right now. So, that doesn't really surprise me a whole lot, but they were able to kind of find their way a bit, which is good to see. And then I guess the last thing, touching on Bedard, is that kid can play. He's got a ton of skill. I mean, for how small he is, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think that was kind of one of the things that people were waiting to see, like, how could he handle, playing with the big boys in the NHL, and he's handled himself just well. And sometimes those smaller guys, like me being a defenseman, those small guys who can move quick like that, they're harder to defend than a guy who's 6'4", because that guy's just probably going to try to go through you. Or as a guy like Bedard, he's a defenseman with a long stick. He's always inside your range of being able to cross check him, but you just can't get him sometimes. And he's shown how much talent he has, and he's an elite goal scorer with that shot too.
Speaking of talent, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, not just the shot, but when I saw the replay back last night, because we were watching a bunch of different games, but I didn't notice that when Bedard, when he got that 2-on-1 goal early in the game, the pass in the neutral zone that started that play, where he flips his stick upside down and just gently breezes the puck right past the defenseman, like a clean tape to tape pass essentially, but using his stick in the opposite way. Like, to have that kind of creativity and just mental wherewithal, like, that's just something you just don't see too often. And he's part of that new wave of these guys with just offensive creativity. We talk about it a lot on the show. To create, the ability to create plays like that is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. And you know what, like, I see it a lot nowadays, like working with younger kids on the ice and stuff. Like, the skill nowadays that a lot of these young kids have is unbelievable. They're all dangling and pulling and dragging, shooting, kind of like just like a lot of the NHL guys. So it's crazy to see how high the skill level is just at a young age coming up through all those ranks.
And I was gonna say, it was a good transition question too, with you working with younger players and stuff nowadays. Do you think that has a lot to do with the fact that we're seeing, like I mentioned about the goal you have the stanchions, like a video game glitch? You have all these kids who grow up playing the games on PlayStation and Xbox while they're also playing on the ice, and they're seeing players doing these incredible things, and the spinorama moves, and skating at these high speeds. Do you think that's now translated to where kids are trying to emulate what they see on the ice, and now that's opened up kind of the offensive creativity within the game?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, the skill level in the NHL over the last 10 to 20 years has just increased every year. So all these kids are all they're watching the Kucherov and Stamkos, Bedard now, like McDavid, Matthews, all these guys who have all this elite high-end skill. And the other side of it is they're probably seeing, with social media, how these guys are training. There's a lot more access kind of into the lives of some of these players too. So you get a little bit more of a firsthand glimpse of what these guys are doing and kind of, what kids should maybe try to do in their game too.
Yeah, and he's only going to get better. He's only going to get better from here. There's no question. And I'm going to, some people say with my karaoke, I'm good at some things, bad at others. Some people think I'm nuts, but we'll throw out the old Bedard one. He'll score a goal, shoot the puck, he'll get into it, get stupid, get Bedarded, get Bedarded, get Bedarded. Let's get Bedarded. Let's get Bedarded in here. That's what we're doing. That's what Chicago fans are doing right now. They're getting Bedarded right now. So I'm a little Bedarded too. And I'm talking about the Bedarded without the B right now. I'm a little bit like that. So it's, I can get like that.
Ian, apparently you got the Boston Hemp gift pack, huh?
Yeah, I did. I wish I could say the weed smoke was causing that. Unfortunately, it's my brain.
That's good.
I just wanted to ask Danny quick. That you're coaching kids now, and I agree. Yeah, I agree with everything you were saying, guys, about just the skill level and everything they have at their fingertips. But I'm wondering, as a coach, how do you make it clear to them that that's not all they're going to need to get to the pros? That obviously you still need the grit, you still need the dedication to the physical side, the training, what have you. What's the message you give to kids these days?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the other side of it too, because so many of these kids they want to be a Matthews or Bedard, you know what I mean? So they try to emulate their game so much where like you look at all the players in the NHL, there's so many great players, whatever, 600, 700 players in the league this year. And, a Matthews and a McDavid are in the 1% of that 1% of all those players. So, I try to preach like the realistic side of things sometimes, where the more you can do on the ice, the more versatile you can be, the better you set yourself up for success, because not everybody, going down the line, first liners and first power play unit guys and juniors sometimes are fourth line and penalty killer guys in the NHL. I see it all the time. And over the years, you guys, actually a guy I played with a few years ago is a good example of that, Sam Gagne. I mean, when he came into the league, obviously the 7 points or 8 points, whatever he had that night, and, first line, first power play for all those years. And then, 2-3 years ago, I'm playing with him and he's, fourth line, playing wing, playing center, killing penalties, no power play time. So, that's a good example of you just kind of got to adapt your game to be able to do a lot of different stuff. And he's a guy who's, he's played over 1,000 games now. And a lot of guys that do play that long, they do have to adapt. And he adapted within the NHL. A lot of other kids growing up, they're going to have to try to adapt at different levels. But
Nick Bukestad, Corey Perry. I'm just going down a bunch of players. Look, right, transition.
Guys, the biggest one of all is a former Red Wing as well, is Stevie Y. I mean, if he doesn't change his game around when Scotty Bowman came, and he doesn't start to dedicate himself to the defensive side, he probably doesn't have the Hall of Fame career and win all those cups. I mean, that to me is the biggest example of a guy who had all the skill in the world, but said, you know what? Okay, this isn't going to do it. And this is what my team needs. Right. And this is how I got to play now. And look how it turned out for him. So I think he's a great example for kids for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And Scotty Bowman too is still the best coach in hockey history, in my opinion. Certainly the most decorated, most successful, most Scotty's cups. And people think of him widely regarded too, one of the greatest coaches in North American sports history. That's football, basketball, baseball, hockey combined. Scotty Bowman's on that list of top 3, top 5. He has to be. There's no question about that.
Did you get to meet him at all, Danny, through the Red Wings, or?
I've met him before, but it was, he was with different organizations. I think he was with Chicago there for a bit, Tampa. He wasn't with Detroit when I was around, but I have met him before. Great guy.
It's unreal, man. Like, I still keep in touch with him, and he'll just call me just to shoot the breeze and talk hockey, and it's amazing.
Wow.
I don't know, what is he now, like 91? And it's like he's
sharp
with his hockey knowledge. Oh, it's amazing.
And on the basketball side of things, Hubie Brown. I can't believe how sharp those two guys are still.
Yeah.
And just
great.
so good. Yeah, and they're X's and O's breakdowns of hockey, both of them. Scotty for hockey and Hubie Brown, of course, both coaches in their respective sports as well. It's just unbelievable. Hubie Brown entering his 50th year, I think, in broadcasting or in basketball, I should say, and he's still doing NBA games on ESPN. It's just incredible stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, so an incredible career really for both of them. All right, let's get into these Friday games, and we'll try to go through them at a brisk pace. We don't want to be here for more than an hour or so.
I got to get out in like 5 minutes, guys. I apologize.
Okay, cool. No problem. Friday night, Calgary Flames, Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got Toronto minus 150, home favorite here, 6.5 the total in this game. First of all, shout out to the 2023 Hockey Hall of Fame class. The inductees who will be in the building tonight, they'll get their little recognition prior to the Flames Leafs game tonight. So shout out to them. Henrik Lundqvist, first ballot Hall of Famer. No surprise there. Tom Barrasso, Mike Vernon, Pierre Turgeon, Caroline Ouellette, a great female women's hockey player, had a great career as well. So they're the player inductees. And then as builders, Pierre Lacroix, the late Pierre Lacroix, who was great in a GM role in the NHL for many years. And of course, Ken Hitchcock. I always call him Captain Kangaroo because he looks like him. Ken Hitchcock, but an incredible coach. He was for many years Stanley Cup champ as well. So great class. They'll be in the house tonight at Scotiabank Arena for the Hockey Hall of Fame game. The induction ceremony is Monday night, but this is the Hall of Fame game tonight, Flames and Leafs. Look, Toronto is saying all the right things, Danny, Alex, Jimmy. They're saying the right things about we've got to dig down defensively. That's where we've gotten off our game, just not good enough against Ottawa. John Klingberg's likely going to be scratched. He's a big part of the struggles defensively. I think second worst defenseman that's been on the ice for the most high danger chances against that have resulted in goals. Klingberg, so it's been a rough start for him. They're going to get Jake McCabe back, it looks like, on the blue line. So it's actually someone that's going to help them in that regard, trying to be a little bit more sturdy, steady defensively in their own end. We know this team can score goals. Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Matthew Nyes has been a nice fit on the top line with Matthews and Marner. Nick Robertson called up recently, playing with Domi and Yarncroke on the third line, gets a goal. So Toronto can score it. They got to get better goaltending and specifically better defense. And we'll see if Joe Woll bounces back. He had his worst game of the year against Ottawa. He's back in net tonight. Jacob Markstrom wasn't on the ice for the morning skate this morning for Calgary. He's out, and it'll be Dan Vladar, Darth Vladar in net here for the Calgary Flames tonight in this game. He's been up and down this year. Calgary's starting to pick it up. Yeah, the bad start, but they've won 2 in a row against Seattle and Nashville. They're certainly got some momentum going into this game. But it feels and it smells and it really feels like a Toronto spot, like the one where they're going to play with their hair on fire. They're going to really want to try to put the clamps down and play a better sound defensive game. I do think they probably win this game, but I have zero comfort laying minus 150 with this Leafs team right now. So it's a pass for me as far as the side in this game. Total, look, I've been riding the Toronto overs, but there's this sneaky voice in my head saying they're really going to try to buckle down because everything you hear about is all defensive focused. They worked on the penalty kill in practice yesterday, which has been a sore spot. So this is a tough game for me. I'm not involved in it as far as side or total pregame. Alex, what do you think here? Flames and Leafs.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother talking about what Toronto should do or need to do. I'm going to focus mostly on what Calgary, like I said, their situation. I think we talk about these teams that have struggled early in the year and trying to get things back afloat. Calgary's in the great position, complete opposite of what we're seeing with the other Alberta team. And now, as you mentioned, Markstrom down day to day. Vladar is starting. He's struggling, but now that opens the door for Mr. Dustin Wolf, who got called up yesterday, who is 5-0-0 already in the AHL. 82-20-6 in the AHL in the last 2.5 years. That's the regular season and playoffs combined. This guy deserved to be. Yep. He deserved to be in the NHL now, as far as I'm concerned. And now he's got the open door. He has the wide open spot to take the reins and possibly change the course of this franchise for this season. I'm super excited to see now what happens over this weekend. Of course, except Vladar plays tonight. But, will Markstrom be healthy enough to carrying 3 goalies? So he's day to day. So we might end up seeing Wolf possibly starting tomorrow. But I'm really excited for that, mainly because if you watch the season preview show, I gave out a 40-1 long shot on him to win the Calder. I think that blew up to like 80-1 at one point too. So you can grab a good number with that. If he can get hot and this Calgary team can start playing some good hockey now, maybe this is a team that has figured out some of their goaltending issues. So that's the big thing I'm looking at. But as far as this game's going, 3 of the last 5 meetings between these two have gone past regulation. So I'm keeping it simple, taking the draw. I got plus 355 to bet online.
Great price with the draw. There are a couple draw bets I like on this card. Games to go to overtime. I didn't have this one on my card, but it makes some sense. It wouldn't shock me if this game goes to overtime, and that's a good price, obviously, plus 355. I'll get into some player props that I like, and they're situational player props, a couple that I really think could be worth a look in this game. Danny, what do you think here? Flames Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like kind of like you guys said, it's a tough one. I mean, I definitely don't like the Leafs at minus 150, but you know, it's kind of depends on what team is going to show up, really.
If you like the Leafs, you know what you do. You take a -1 or regulation. You get a better price than minus 150 out of it. That's what I'm always a proponent of that if I'm looking at a favorite in this price range, because you can get Toronto at minus or plus 104, I should say, for in regulation, and -1 is plus 130. So obviously, if they win by 1, you at least get your refund back and you push your bet. But if they win by more than 1, which they might tonight, this might be one of the nights where they mean business. See, I can't buy in. Our chat IceX says, look, Leafs looking ahead they can't look ahead to anybody. If they look ahead to Vancouver tomorrow night, they're going to go 0-2 this weekend. And then they got to make the long flight to Sweden, where they're supposed to have this great time there, touring Sweden for a few days before they play next Friday against Detroit. And they got to go there on an 0-2 weekend at home. They can't be looking past Calgary. They got to show up tonight. That they can't be looking ahead to Vancouver. So to me, if they lose, it won't be looking ahead. It's just they suck defensively again. That's probably why they're going to lose if that happens again. Jimmy, what do you think here? Flames Leafs.
Yeah, guys, this will be my only play, and I got a jet after this. I apologize, but you know what? Given the fact that the coach called out the defensive game, and I would imagine they focused on that a lot in practice yesterday, I'm going to go, and it sounds crazy to ever touch it, even with the Flames as well, but I'm liking the under in this. So I'm going to take an under in the first period, and I'm going to take an under total.
All right, first period and full game under split for Jimmy. And a best bet before we let you run, if you had to pick one, what would it be?
We'll go with that, the full game under.
All right, Jimmy, good stuff. We appreciate you joining us.
And speaking of unders, boys, jump on that under with the Colts and the Patriots this weekend. I know it's low, but that's a gimme right there.
You mean you don't trust that explosive offense and Mac Jones?
Yeah, I know, but go back. I was just listening on the radio, some guy talking about how like 90% of the games in Europe have gone under. So ride that under.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. The Colts have been kind of an over team, but I don't know if that's going to happen here with New England. And New England didn't have Parker. Parker at receiver, and another one of their big receivers, Born to be alive, Kendrick Bourne. He didn't play last week either. So
and they left J.C. Jackson at home because he was late for a meeting. So they're in trouble. So ride that under, boys. Have a great weekend, Danny. Nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
There he is, Jimmy Murphy with us. Thanks, Jimmy. All right, Jimmy Murphy. All right, Carolina. Oh, by the way, the props. God help me. This bothers me that I'm endorsing this guy because he's been an utter no-show this year for Calgary, and he had a bad first year with them last year, but he got benched in the third period the other night against Nashville, and they came back and they won. Isn't that crazy, Danny? Jonathan Huberdeau, he got benched in the third period against Nashville the other night. Calgary outscored Nashville 3-0 in the third period without him playing a shift, without him playing a second on the ice. They played their best period of the game, and they came back and they beat Nashville. But he is in the lineup tonight. Ryan Uska's putting him back in. You know what that can be like. This is my theory with player props, Danny. Bet the guy that just got benched or scratched the last game. He comes with a chip on his shoulder. He wants to make amends. He wants to play better, and he doesn't want that shit happening again. He said it after him. I'm embarrassed that I was benched and didn't play a shift in that third period. So I'm going to buy in tonight on Jonathan Huberdeau showing up for the Calgary Flames. So goal prop, assist prop, I would look at some of those for Huberdeau tonight. What have you, in your experiences, when you see, I'm not saying you were benched and scratched all the time, but not only the teammates of yours as well. I mean, when you saw that situation arise, did you often get their best effort the night they returned to the lineup after being a healthy scratch or benched?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've been in that situation. I've seen a lot of guys in that situation, especially someone like Huberdeau. Like when you see really good players like that who, they're benched or scratched or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's never a bad take to, take them the next game because they're going to be playing with a little bit of fire for the most part usually.
Yeah, and you could say Kadri against his former team as well. Now, and he hasn't had a great season either, again, for Calgary. Both of these guys, since they got them at the beginning of last year, just underwhelming. But, he's going to be amped up to play. I think he's done a good job against Toronto. I think he scored multiple games against the Leafs since he was with Colorado and now Calgary. I think he scored against Toronto before. So Huberdeau and Kadri on the Calgary side. And then on the Toronto side, I would say Nyes and Nick Robertson. I think both of those young kids are the best value as far as goal scorer props. Nyes playing with Matthews and Marner. And this is another thing I talk about, Danny, with player props. Matthew Nyes is on the top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Matthews is plus 100 to score a goal, minus 110. Marner's like plus 160, but Matthew Nyes is like plus 400 to score a goal tonight, and he's playing on the top line. These are the situations I mention on this show a lot when it comes to player props. The guy that's on the top line or moved up there, and he's nowhere near priced like his line mates are as far as goal props, assist props. And those are the kinds you can take advantage of, I find. Yeah.
No, I agree 100% because, moving up to that first line, he's going to see tons of opportunities. He's going to get a lot of offensive zone draws, maybe some power play time. I don't know where he's at on there, where he slots in, but yeah, first line coming down from the second or third, you're going to get all those opportunities.
All right, Carolina, Florida. We've got, that's actually minus 130. Let me change that. Minus 130 for Carolina as road favorites. 6.5 the total in this game. This is the first matchup between these teams this season, which means it's the first matchup since their Eastern Conference final last year when the Florida Panthers, in their crazy run to the Stanley Cup final, swept the Carolina Hurricanes in 4 straight games, although it was not that much of a blowout. Every game was close. There were 2 overtime games in that conference final last year. So obviously Carolina, this is a little bit more in their fire in their belly for your average regular season game that they get to play the Florida Panthers here for the first time since last year. That being said, if you've been blindly betting playoff revenge games, it hasn't been going well this year. Hasn't always cashed for you. So keep that in mind. It's not a slam dunk that Carolina is going to win tonight just because they're playing Florida for the first time since they got knocked out in the conference final last year. I lean Carolina, but I also didn't love the price here, minus 130 on the road. Florida's been playing good at home, 4-1 this year. Even without Babcock, without Ekblad and Montour on the blue line, I've been impressed. The blue line is held up. Even with Matthew Tkachuk, really struggling. And I think that broken sternum that he suffered last year in the playoffs, I don't think he's 100% just yet. I think that's playing a part in Tkachuk's early season offensive struggles. But the good news is Sam Reinhart is someone that's really picked up the slack for Florida. He's been excellent to begin this season, carrying them offensively. Verhaeghe has been pretty good lately as well. So this is a tough game. I wanted to bet Carolina. I didn't love the price enough at minus 130 in this game on the road against a Florida team that's playing well on home ice. I like the draw, though, in this game. This is my first draw bet here of the card. Carolina, Florida draw, plus 370. Really good price with that at FanDuel. You look at it, Florida, they've played back-to-back overtime games coming into this one. Same thing with Carolina, 2 straight overtime games. You look at the playoff series last year, every game decided by 1 goal. 2 of those 4 games went to overtime. I think we're going to see another very close competitive game, one that's got a real shot to go beyond regulation. So the draw for me here at plus 370, great price. What do you think here, Alex? Carolina, Florida.
Yeah, I was a little on the fence with it, but like you said, when you look at these trends, just not only with the team, but just history as well, 370 is a decent enough price to take a shot here with the draw, because I was completely staying away from the side. Like I said, I leaned with Carolina, but the goaltending situation still kind of a iffy mess for me. And, you wonder where things are going to stand and lay out with that at some point, because now, of course, no Fredrik Andersen indefinitely. You got Antti Raanta, who, of course, we know how injury-prone he can be. You added Yaroslav Halak, who, he wasn't necessarily giving you consistency in the last couple of years. He was very up and down his tenures with Boston and New York kind of as a backup. So Carolina's a team that I want to watch and observe the next few games. So I probably won't be betting anything Carolina, at least going into another week or so. In Florida, just a team, like I said, just kind of still hard to trust a little bit at times, but I think they can play close enough here where this one's a draw, and 370 is a worthy price.
It's actually plus 390 now at FanDuel. So somehow this price has gotten even better. So That's a really good price. And there's a draw is a very real possibility. At that price, it's worth a look. And again, with the draw bets, you hit one of them. Let's say you bet 4, you hit 1, you're profitable. You got a really good chance to be profitable at the end of that. And if you hit 2 of them, you're really in good shape. So they're worth a look here. And Alex has even got me going on the draw bets a lot more, because this has been something that he's been betting his entire handicapping and sports betting career. I've only started betting them more often the last couple of years. But they're good if it makes sense. If you're seeing teams play a lot of close games lately, if the series history says there's been close games between them, definitely the draw is a very good value betting option here in a game like this potentially. Danny, what do you think here? Hurricanes Panthers playoff rematch.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you guys mentioned, sometimes the old playoff revenge game doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go. But I mean, I don't know. This is a tough one. Florida. I was kind of interested to see how they were going to start off the season this year after, running into the Cup finals and then losing. Sometimes you never know how those teams are going to play to start the year, but, they've been pretty decent. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, it's tricky. I agree, but I think the draw tricky as far the side. I lean Carolina, but I just think, the draw is the better option and a real chance for the game. Speaking of draws, Minnesota and Buffalo. We've got the Buffalo Sabres minus 115 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. I actually like Buffalo here. Minnesota's on a back-to-back. They played in New York against the Rangers last night. Tough loss for them. But they go back to Philip Gustafsson. He's been awful. He's been horrid this year, really, for the Wild and net. And really since the Florida game where he got the shutout, first game of the year, every other game he's given up at least 4 goals. And every game has gone over the total. Every Philip Gustafsson start in net for the Minnesota Wild this year, since that first start he made, it's gone over the total. So he's really had some issues keeping the puck out of the net, hasn't played the way he did last year, where he played so well, guys, last year that he displaced Marc-Andre Fleury from being the starting goalie for Minnesota for much of last year. Buffalo's an easy team to figure out. Off a loss, they're usually a decent look. When they're off a win, that's not when you want to bet Buffalo, because they've been inconsistent. Win-loss has been their pattern this year. They're off the loss to Carolina, although they were very competitive. Good effort against a good Hurricanes team in that game. I think they do bounce back here. They've got the rest advantage. They're at home. Devin Levi, it looks like, is going to be in net here for the Sabres tonight. Not confirmed yet, but projected. Philip Gustafsson, of course, for the Wild. I'll take Buffalo here, minus 115. Short home favorites, and they're getting healthier for this game. It looks like Alex Tuck was a question mark. He's going to be a game time decision, but Dylan Cousins is back, and that's significant for the Sabres. He's like the heartbeat of this hockey team. He's missed the last 2 games with the upper body injury, and I'm a Sabre fan growing up, Danny, so this is kind of my team. But God bless and God love Dylan Cousins for doing what he did last week against Philadelphia, stepping up to the plate with his team struggling and fighting Garnett Hathaway of the Philadelphia Flyers. It's kind of a silly decision because he was just overmatched, overwhelmed. But the fact he stepped up and took on that guy, I give him all the credit in the world for doing that. And unfortunately, that's what landed him on the injured list here for these last couple of games. But he's back tonight for the Sabres. Nobody works harder on this team. The workhorse from Whitehorse is what they call him. Dylan Cousins. I think that's a boost for the Sabres. So I'll take them minus 115 in this game. I like the over in this game, 6.5. Sabres, are offensively very capable against a struggling goalie. And on the flip side, Minnesota's been an over machine this year. We've talked about it all season. So over 6.5, Buffalo minus 115. And I'm also going to take a shot on the draw in this game because I do think it's competitive and there's series history that points to a lot of close games between these teams. Last 2 meetings last year, Wild versus Sabres, both went past regulation. So this is another draw for me here, Wild and Sabres, and you can get that at a very good price here in this game. Minnesota Buffalo draw. FanDuel has it at plus 370 for this game. Alex, Wild and Sabres.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the draw. 4 of the last 6 have gone past regulation. 5 of the last 7 meetings have been decided by 1 goal. I lean a little bit toward Minnesota here. And I know, like I said, Gustafsson has been awful so far. But I think we're just seeing a product of just the kind of whole team as a whole. And yes, he's regressed a little bit, but I don't think that's all completely his fault. I think the way that the Wild have played in front of Gustafsson has been kind of just a carryover from last year, right? When he was in net, he was rock solid. And they didn't always get the offense rolling at times, but they always could feel like they were comfortable and had a shot throughout the game because Gustin was giving them a chance to win. Even though you look at the opening night win, he pretty much stood on his head against Florida and got that victory. So now, is he a bit overworked? Or is it just that the whole team is just kind of breaking down around him? That remains to be seen. And I think, like I said, Buffalo, with their inconsistency, this is a short price. And I think the Wild were kind of looking at this saying, we may not be able to beat the Rangers, but we can at least go on. Let's put Gus in on Friday against Buffalo and try to get a win here. So I lean with Minnesota on the side, but I love the draw even more. And definitely would take a shot, maybe live over, try to get a 6 or a 5.5. Like I said, definitely over machine with Minnesota right now.
I know that's just what you're saying. They might be thinking Minnesota, but if they really thought that, and I found out that they thought that way, Minnesota, I'd say, hey, fuck you guys. Sabres are getting better. We're going to make the playoffs this year. Don't you dare think we're a stepping stone for you. We're going to give you, and I think tonight Buffalo is going to be a tough out here for the Minnesota Wild. We'll see about that. Danny, what do you think here? Minnesota Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably lean towards the over here. I don't know. I just feel like both teams, you guys mentioned Minnesota. I didn't know that they were an over machine, but they got the amount of scoring that they have and offense on their team. And then also all the young talent that's in Buffalo there, I feel like they can light it up too. So being the amateur better than I am, I'd go with the over here.
All right, liking the we agree, and you know what we say. There's a reason for that, Danny, and it's both of our theories on this, and we agree with it. Alex and I here. The Minnesota over theory is, first of all, the goaltending's been weaker, and they've missed Jared Spurgeon. Jared Spurgeon being off that blue line has been a huge deal. He's probably one of the better defenders in his own end on this hockey team, and he hasn't played a game yet this year, and they just haven't been defending in their own zone quite as well. Jared Spurgeon's a big piece, to Minnesota's blue line. So that's been a huge proponent of it, no question. And the combination has led to them scoring enough goals with Kaprizov, and they've moved Marco Rossi. It was long overdue. Marco Rossi finally put on the top line. Dean Evison took his sweet time putting him up there when he was scoring early in the year, but finally he did that. So they're good enough offensively, but they've struggled in their own end. And that combination has led to them being over the total. As far as props for this game, JJ Peterka, we talk about him all the time. JJ Peterka, he's worth a look. He's scoring right now for Buffalo. Middle stat, goal assist. Middle stats really picked it up. Dylan Cousins, I think, back in the lineup. He's going to want to make an impact. So there's some decent prop there. And for Minnesota, I'd say Hartman and Rossi. Hartman has stepped up his offensive game a little bit the last week. And Rossi, since another player that's undervalued since he's moved up to the top line, and you're still getting very good prices in the plus 300 range for him to score a goal tonight. Once again for Minnesota. All right, Capitals and Devils. We've got New Jersey minus 200 home favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. Now, remember, these two teams played in October in New Jersey last month. Washington beat New Jersey 6-4. It was a crazy game. Washington smoked them in the first period. And then New Jersey comes back in the second, takes the lead. And then in the third period, Washington responds. They regain the lead, and they end up winning 6-4. It was not a great game from the Devils. They were playing great going into it. I think they kind of, I don't want to say they took Washington lightly, but they didn't have their best game that night. But now they get a chance at Washington again. They're off a loss to Colorado that's not sitting well with them. I've read a lot of the quotes, heard a lot of the media comments from Lindy Ruff and a lot of the players. Too many odd man rushes. Danny, I don't know if you saw that game, New Jersey, Colorado, any of it. It was on TV the other night, TNT, but they were brutal with odd man rushes allowed, turnovers, and Colorado just made them pay for it against that New Jersey team. So I think they're going to be a lot better tonight here against a beatable Washington Capitals team that just, has had a hard season so far, an aging team that we think their best days are kind of behind them. They've still got some injuries too up front and on the blue line as well that they're dealing with. Goaltending's been shaky for Washington, and Charlie Lindgren is confirmed in net tonight for them. His numbers on the season are actually not bad. 2.5 goals against, 929 save percentage, but facing a New Jersey team that's still got firepower even without Hischier and Jack Hughes. They've still shown the ability without those two guys to win games. Mercer and McLeod are in those spots. They're great value. They're the number one, number two centers. They're not being priced like it with their player props. So again, I would say Dawson Mercer and Michael McLeod, player props for New Jersey, have a ton of value tonight. I like the over here. This is another one where series history has really been over heavy. 5-2 to the over the last 7. New Jersey's 10-2 to the over on the season. I think 12-2 to the over in their last 14 home games, the New Jersey Devils as well. So over 6 is where it opened. I bet it at 6. It's up to 6.5. I still like it. And I'm also going to take a rare combo bet. I don't do a ton of these, but I'm going to go New Jersey and over 5.5 here at plus 148. A really good price. Devils money line combined with over 5.5 in this game at plus 148. So I'm also on that. Alex, what do you like here? Washington, New Jersey.
Yeah, I missed the boat on that 6 with the over, so I'm going to be going for a 5.5. Looking live, I'm going to wait about maybe 3 or 4 minutes scoreless and try to get something in minus $1.20 or better. So that's the only thing I'm looking at. Definitely not taking a side with Washington, even at a plus price. And like I said, New Jersey, I think they could be finally getting on a roll right now. Maybe getting hot enough to where we could see that, New Jersey streak that we saw around this time and early out of the season last year. So I wouldn't be shocked if this could be one of those games. I think there's a couple of teams that could build some streaks off of games tonight. New Jersey might be one of them. So maybe a look for something on the side live, but I like the total more. I want to get a better pricing game.
All right, looking for a live over, Alex, in this one. Danny, what do you think here? Caps, Devils.
I mean, I don't like Washington. You mentioned that their best days are behind them. They're veteran guys. Yeah, they've been good for a long time, but I just think they're hitting the end of the road, and they're trying to transition here, and I don't like them. So
there you go. Washington, New Jersey, or nothing here for Danny DeKaiser here in this game. Jack is still out. I don't mind Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier being out. It's a big deal. It's your top 2 centers. I get it. But they can beat Washington without them. I'd be worried, worry against Colorado being without them the other night where they lost. Worry when you play the Rangers or Carolina. You play teams of that caliber. You can get past Washington, I think, without those 2 guys. And by the way, I think they're going to be ramped up to beat Washington tonight because they know they didn't play well at all the last time they played the Capitals, and they're better than that. So I think you'll see that from them tonight. All right, if you're going to bet Washington props, though, it's Strome and it's Tom Wilson. I mean, those are the 2 obvious choices. They're the ones that are carrying they're scoring more goals than Ovechkin, believe it or not, right now for the Washington Capitals. Ovechkin and Oshie have had really slow starts offensively this year for the Washington Capitals. All right, Philadelphia Flyers and Anaheim Ducks. We've got the Flyers minus 115 road favorite, 6.5 the total in this game. The money is coming in on Philly because they actually opened as underdogs, and now they're minus 115 favorites. So there's some support here for Philadelphia coming off the loss against San Jose, their second straight loss. I have been higher on the Anaheim Ducks than a lot of people this season. So I don't agree with this move. I'm on the Anaheim side here at minus 105 in this game. Now, I know Philadelphia, it's not going to sit well with anybody you lose to the San Jose Sharks, but Danny, we've said this about Philadelphia. I think the work ethic is great. Torts has got this team competing, but at the end of the day, there's not a lot of high-level, upper echelon finishing ability with the forward group. There just isn't. Maybe Konechny, but a lot of their other forwards, they shoot the puck into the pads of the goaltender way too often, and that's an issue. They're getting chances. They work their bag off. I get all that. But they're struggling to finish and convert on the chances they get. And that's going to be what probably does Philadelphia in this year once again, like it did last year. You can work hard all you want, but at some point you got to have some offensive finish in your game, and there just isn't enough of that with Philadelphia. There should be enough of that with Anaheim. Now, I know they got shut out by Pittsburgh the other night to snap their win streak, but when you've got Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras and you've got Mason McTavish, and now Alex Killorn, the veteran from Tampa Bay, is in the lineup and healthy. Minchikov has been a gem on the blue line, moving that puck from defense to offense. I mean, this is a very exciting team to watch. And I think for them, after getting shut out at home by Pittsburgh, it's a nice little bounce back spot. And again, I've got Anaheim as the better of these 2 teams right now. So at home, and I got it at a plus price earlier, plus 100, even at minus 105. I still very much like the Ducks. Quack, 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 quack. We're taking the Anaheim Ducks here tonight in this one. Alex, Philly and Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm on the Ducks here as well. And, like I said, I'm high on this Ducks team right now. And this is a spot, just looking at the schedule, they've got some easy games coming up where they can continue to ride this momentum. Like I said, they had off of the loss, but they still have been playing with a ton of effort as well. And like I said, that's the difference between Philly and Anaheim. Both teams are playing with a ton of effort. They're outplaying the expectations of what we thought going into the first month and a half of the season. But Anaheim has that talent We see the rebuild happening in process with Anaheim. We can look through the kitchen with them where we can't really quite see everything that's going on with Philly, but we know that they're playing better hockey than what they have in the last couple of years. Anaheim just seems to be a couple of levels ahead of Philly right now. And I think it's a cheap price at home. And we got Lucas Dostal on net, who, like I said, I've been very high on. I've been very impressed with how he looks in net. And I think this is a great price to back Anaheim at home.
Sam Ersson, by the way, in net. This was supposed to be Carter Hart initially. Carter Hart's not ready to come back. Some sites had him confirmed. So there's some errors going on with RotoWire and some of these sites I use for lineup confirmations. So it is indeed Samuel Ersson who is going to get the start once again for the Philadelphia Flyers. Carter Hart not ready to return just yet. Danny, not just the Flyers-Ducks game specifically, but also this Anaheim team. One of the surprise stories. I think Greg Cronin was a nice hire. Clearly, he's done a really nice job. And what he's done a nice job with is this team's competing defensively better than they did before. I felt it was too easy to play in the offensive zone for teams against Anaheim last year. That was a big problem. They're not a great defensive team yet, but there's definitely better compete away from the puck throughout this Anaheim lineup. And I think Greg Cronin's done a nice job instilling that in this team. So what do you think of Anaheim overall, Danny, and this game, Flyers and Ducks?
Yeah, I mean, I think Anaheim overall, it was a rough few years for them there, and they're kind of turning the tide a bit here, and especially starting off the year this year. You mentioned Cronin there, and then you got Verbeek, who came in a couple years ago now. But he's I like what he's done because he's brought in some
little ball of hate.
Yeah. He's brought in some veterans, Killorn, Gudas, and some guys that have experience. So sometimes that helps, especially on the defensive side of things. You get younger players in the league, and they want to put up a lot of points, but over the long run, I think the veteran guys are a little more responsible in their end, and I think that's been paying off for them this year. I would throw a dart at the under here. I guess the reason being is just Philly. You mentioned their energy and their work ethic this year, but yeah, I don't know if they have enough finishers. I take the under here.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Anaheim, Anaheim is capable of playing some unders this year. And Philly's not a team I'm rushing to bet over at 6.5. I'll tell you that. Not with that team, not with that group. So Danny liking the under here. And Alex, as he mentioned, liking the Anaheim. And then as far as props go, just a couple. I'm going back to the same two that I've been riding with all year, McTavish and Vetrano, Frank the Tank Vetrano, who's gotten off to a tremendous start. Cooled off a little bit lately, but definitely, that's a good nickname, Rich H. There we go. Danny Darts. There we go. You mentioned it. Throw a dart out there. That's a good one, Rich. We have to trademark that if you're on the show again with us down the road. Danny Darts.
All right, I don't hate it. We'll see if it is.
Yeah, exactly. So Danny liking the under. We like Anaheim here, Alex and I in this one. All right, this final game, you're going to have to get creative to find some value in this game. San Jose and Vegas. Could San Jose win their third straight game? Could it happen? They are on a back-to-back here against the Vegas Golden Knights. How about the Vegas Golden Knights, a minus 550 home favorite in this game? So you got to risk $550 to win $100 if you're going to take Vegas here on the money line. Doesn't seem worth it. That's for sure. A 6.5, by the way, shaded to the under here in this game. But look, what do you do with a game like this, really? I don't want to get involved really in this game too much. I mean, I don't think Vegas has taken San Jose lightly, because the Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions, have lost 2 in a row. They lost to the who did they lost to the other night? I'm just trying to think there. LA. Yeah, they lost to LA, and then they lost to Anaheim on Sunday night. So they lost in Anaheim against the Ducks, the improved Ducks, last Sunday night. Anaheim caught him in a good scheduling spot, back-to-back. It was for Vegas, and Anaheim was rested. But Anaheim still beat Vegas last Sunday night. And then Vegas got beat by the LA Kings Wednesday night in the TNT game. And a very impressive road win it was for the LA Kings. So they're off 2 losses. You would think the superior team won't look past San Jose in this spot. But, how do you find value? I mean, minus 550 favorite. I mean, if you want to take Vegas on the puck line even, it's minus 1.5, minus 185 to lay a goal and a half with the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. So the only thing you can do if you like that side is you got to test the alternative puck line here and go with, -2.5 at -110. You don't get a plus price on Vegas puck line until -3.5 at +225. So that tells you how big a favorite they are. But I don't want San Jose. Look, I know they beat Edmonton and Philly for their first 2 wins. To me, this is still the worst team in the NHL. Now, they've played harder defensively, and I think Mike Greer, the GM, going on the ice and, having a meeting with the team a few days ago did spark that better defensive effort away from the puck. And Mackenzie Blackwood, look, he played well in the 2 games too, Flyers and Oilers, but you may not see him tonight in net because it's a back-to-back. In fact, you won't. It's going to be Kaapo Kakkonen, who's been Kaapo Kaka this year for the San Jose Sharks. Hasn't been playing well. 0-4, 4.3 goals against average, .876 save percentage for Kakkonen. He's definitely been the worst of the 2 goalies for San Jose compared to Blackwood. And then it's going to be Adin Hill for Vegas. So Vegas probably wins. They might win by margin, but there's not a lot of value. And, after the last couple games fading San Jose and not it coming through like it did before, I might pump the brakes on doing so again. So right now it's a pass for me here, other than maybe some player props I'll look at. Vegas, what do you think here, Alex? San Jose, Vegas.
It's the old Mike Singletary game. Can't bet it, can't watch it, can't do it. It's a clear pass. You don't have to bet every game, and this is proof of it. Just let this one go.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, other than maybe the odd Vegas prop, because I do think they'll find the back of the net here against Kakkonen a few times. That's all I would be interested in is maybe some player props here for the Vegas Golden Knights. And the ones I would look at here, again, are William Carrier is on the second line with Michael Amadio and Stone. Same with Amadio. Both of these guys are moving up to the second line, so they've got some value now with Mark Stone up on that line. I think the top line is due for a big night, like Eichel, Marchessault, and Clocher Barbashev, Ivan Barbashev. They are definitely due for a big night offensively. And this could be the night for it to happen against San Jose, who by far have their worst of the 2 goalies in net, that being Kaapo Kakkonen. I want to mention, because I saw Cuban Wayne Gretzky in the chat here, he always throws out his props, Marchessault, Carlson, Stone, same game parlay, goal parlay. So there you go, Marchessault, Carlson, and Stone for Vegas. He pointed me toward Noah Hannafin, goal prop tonight for Calgary. I agree with that. Toronto's given up goals to blue liners in recent games. Hannafin has scored in back-to-back games for Calgary, and he's been shooting the puck a lot. And you can get a great price with Noah Hannafin. I agree with what Cuban Wayne Gretzky is saying there as far as Noah Hannafin to find the back of the net. I'm just going to take a look what the price is currently, but it is a big one for Noah Hannafin, plus 800 at Caesars. 800 plus 800 for him to score a goal. He scored in back-to-back games. Toronto's given up goals to defensemen lately. Not a bad look. Noah Hannafin plus 800. I agree with that one. Danny, what do you think here? Sharks, Golden Knights.
Yeah, I mean, you guys kind of mentioned it's a tough one to bet on. If I were throwing a dart, it would be a light bet on San Jose. You know what I mean? Plus 400. Yeah, why not dabble a little bit?
I don't hate it. I honestly don't hate it. Even with don't like Kakkonen at all, but I don't hate it. They've got some confidence. They're playing with house money. No pun intended, because they're playing in Vegas. I see me saying that, but San Jose plus 400. They've won 2 in a row. There's no pressure on them. And look, they got a little mojo, a little pep in their step now at the very least, right?
They're probably going out after the game tonight. Back to back, right? They're in Vegas. The boys are going to shake it up after this game. So who knows?
Yeah, there you go. And look, the whole world was against San Jose last night. That did not work out too well. And you figure that there's a lot of people that are going to try to recoup tonight with Vegas here in this game against San Jose. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's just, look, I have my limit to I respect that they've won 2 in a row. And now it's just that they've priced me out of betting against San Jose tonight. Just not at this price and at this number. Am I interested in doing that? Great stuff with Danny DeKaiser. Phenomenal job, and we appreciate him for going almost a full 90 minutes with us here on the Ice Guys show for this Beantown Friday edition. Alex and I are going to finish up, do the promos and the bargain bin special of the night and the best bet, but we'll let Danny run right now in case he wants to get going. But Danny, we appreciate it. It was fun having you on the show. Double D squared. Danny DeKaiser with us here on the Ice Guys show. Anything you want to say before we let you go?
No, not really. Just thanks for having me on the show. I'll be following you guys, throughout the rest of the year here. So hopefully, picks today went well, and we'll see how they shake out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. And spread the word. Absolutely. The Ice Guys. We're the only show that's on 7 days a week. Every single day we're on breaking down every game from an NHL betting perspective. So no doubt, anyone that's interested, you let them know, and you'll get the best damn analysis and insight anywhere. Sides, totals, player props. As you just heard, Danny, we cover it all here on this show. Oh, by the way, before we let you go, we do have to get a best bet from you. First ever. If you had to pick one tonight, what would it be?
What, any game or
any game?
Yeah,
any game. Yeah.
Let's go with put me on the spot here. Let's do the let's go with Flames.
Flames? All right. Liking them as an underdog. Not buying the Toronto bounce back. Not buying that they're saying all the right things. We're going to play better defensively. Let's see it, right? First. Yeah. All right. Calgary plus 130. And I know you like that Flyers Ducks under as well.
Yeah.
So that's on the short.
We'll go with that.
All right. There you go.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate it, Danny.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us.
So much,
we'll get you on again later this season. And you're such a great guest, even a Blackhawks fan and a former Red Wings.
Yep, exactly.
We can get along. We can get along.
That's
for sure.
Right. Kumbaya.
For sure.
Exactly. All right, Danny. Appreciate it, my friend.
Cheers,
all
Danny.
the best to you with the Training Institute, the real estate gig, and everything else, and the family back home. Everything. We wish you well, and we'll get you back on later this season.
All right. Sounds good, guys. Take care. Thanks a lot.
You too. All right, there he is, Danny DeKaiser with us on this Beantown Friday edition of the show. Great stuff. All right, speaking of Beantown Friday, that's what we're going to talk about now. BostonHempInc.com. Check it out. They are the sponsor of the Beantown Friday edition of the show. Get all your great products there. And here's a little sample, courtesy of Alex, of what you can find. There it is. Check it out, BostonHempInc.com. Great stuff for all the CBD needs, BostonHempInc.com. Make sure you check that out. Proud sponsor of the Ice Guys Friday show and a Beantown Friday edition of the show. And also make sure you're a subscriber of the family plan, $9.99 US per month. Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys. A great first exclusive live members only betcast last night. We've got more of those coming. The next one we do, we're not going to tell you when. It's going to be an impromptu, like we're just going to drop the link, the YouTube link in the community tab and on Patreon. We're on the air. It's a betcast right now. Come on, come one, come all, that kind of thing. So we're going to do one of those, I think, maybe later this month. And it'll be a shorter one like it was last night. It'll be like 2-3 hours. And we'll do another one of those later this month as well. And that'll be in addition to, of course, the main one that we have every month. And that's Tuesday, November 28th, which is a great night. Our main betcast for the month of November. We've got playoff rematches, Leafs, Panthers. I don't know how good Oilers, Golden Knights is going to be. It was really good entering the season. Maybe not so much now, but that's on November 28th as well. So we've got all that coming up. Of course, we've got live wagers from Alex, our daily betting card, and player props posted on the community tab for family plan members and on the Patreon page. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, also, like I said, mentioned with the Patreon page, I'll have my goalie charts and player rankings. I'll have those up by the weekend. And it's interesting because there's a lot of shaking going on. And this is around that time, November, we start talking about the teams that are kind of balancing in the position. So there's a lot of movement with this set of power rankings I have that'll be coming up this weekend. I know, Ian, you'll have yours up as well. So definitely want to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 a month. And like I said, that's a compliment with the family plan package. So those two things work together. So you get all the information from both. You won't miss a single thing if you signed up to both of those pages.
And Landon, a $20 donation. We appreciate it. He's one of our greats. Dallas Stars fan, deep in the heart of Texas there. Ice Guys Familia. Hit the like button. He's right about that as well. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And the support's just been amazing here for the show so far this season. All right. You know what's been amazing too? The bargain bin special of the night. And we hit another one, and it was Alex that got us to the win column last night with the bargain bin special of the night. Corey, who turned into Scory Perry against his old team for the Chicago Blackhawks against his former team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, plus 470 to score a goal last night. He gets the job done. Alex, are you involved bargain bin wise tonight?
I am. It's not as juicy of a price. It's just barely hitting the surface of the criteria, but you got to shop around for it. But you can get plus 300 with Adam Henrique, the Anaheim Ducks, to get a goal tonight. He's moving up to that top power play line, and he's a guy, like I said, he's one of the key pieces of why Anaheim's playing as well as they are. He's that kind of gritty two-way guy, finds himself in front of the net, finds the puck on his stick, and gets timely goals. I think that can happen tonight here in this game against Philly at home. So we'll go Adam Henrique plus 300. Shop around, about 2 or 3 books we can find 300 or higher. Grab him to get a goal tonight.
All right. And even though he's been struggling this year, and even though it's been a disappointment, if there's ever going to be a wake-up call for my bargain bin special of the night player tonight, it's tonight. It's Jonathan Huberdeau for the Calgary Flames. And even though Toronto is going to be obviously trying to bear down defensively after what we've seen, they've got to still show me they can fucking do it, right? That's at this end of the night. I can't get past that. You can talk, and I could talk until I'm blue in the face that I can play football at a high level, but I'm never going to be able to do it. So, that's the thing. Toronto can talk all they want about, being able to play good defense. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to do it. So even though they're going to try to dig down defensively tonight, this is just a great spot. There's a prideful player. This was a guy that was a bona fide superstar in his last few years with Florida there. That's how well he had a 100-point season. If he's ever going to show up and have a big night and get a fucking slap in the face and a wake-up call, it's being benched for the third period against Nashville the other night. Jonathan Huberdeau, and this also barely meets the criteria. There's plus 310 at DraftKings, but there's plus 340 at Caesars for Jonathan Huberdeau to score a goal tonight for the Calgary Flames, coming off that benching in the third period the other night. So a great price, plus 340, Jonathan Huberdeau, Calgary Flames, for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, it is time for best bets here. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go out to Western New York, Wing Country. We'll go with the Wild and Sabres on the draw. Like I said, 4 of the last 6 meetings have gone past overtime in this spot, so we're definitely taking a fair look with them. I think it's going to be a close game, so we're going to go Minnesota-Buffalo draw. That is my best bet for Friday.
All right, there it is, Minnesota-Buffalo draw. The Wild and the Sabres. And again, best price that I see with that is, of course, FanDuel. That usually has the best price, plus 370 for Minnesota Buffalo draw. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. My best bet for this Friday card, I'm going to roll with the late game here, and there is a plus 100 out there with it. We're going to go with the quack, 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 quack. The Anaheim Ducks here, plus 100 against the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm just simple as I think wrong team is favored. That Philly is a road favorite against this Anaheim team, who to me is the better of these two teams right now. We'll take our chances with the Ducks in a bounce back spot here tonight against the Philadelphia Flyers. So Anaheim plus 100 against Philadelphia for my best bet here for this Friday NHL card. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A huge Saturday card once again tomorrow in the NHL, 12 games on tap, and we will be here at noon Eastern. 11 a.m. Central tomorrow for the Saturday edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. And if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, Jimmy Murphy, and our guest, Danny DeKaiser. I am Ian Cameron. This has been another Beantown Friday edition of the show presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Enjoy the games and good luck tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys.